Buenas tardes, good afternoon from along the Suchiate River, which forms the border where I'm at between Guatemala in back of me and Mexico right over here. I'm standing on the Mexican side of both the border and river, joined by someone who decided to make the trip down here. If you're tuned in at the moment, thank you for tuning in, and can you please let us know if you can see us and hear us all right? I'm a bit concerned about connection issues. Tricky Woo says hey, Aaron Carter says yo. Yeah, if you guys could let me know whether you can see us and hear us all right, that would be much appreciated. Looks good so far. All right, thank you guys. Yeah, I'm actually... Right now, my phone is automatically picking up the Guatemalan phone network, even though I'm on the Mexican side. But looks like so far so good, and we'll see if it stays that way. You can see in back of us some people making their way back and forth on rafts. At least around here, they're the privileged class. Annabelle and I are not allowed, at least by law and in practice, to traverse this border back. And someone's asking, am I in Chapas, Mexico? That is correct. I am in the state of Chiapas, albeit what you're looking at me behind me, those trees are in Guatemala. The people on the raft, or I should say rafts, are in no man's land. They're between Guatemala and Mexico. People around here in this border region cross back and forth all the time. However, Annabelle and I are not allowed to do that. We'll probably tell you a bit later in the broadcast about our efforts to get over to the Guatemalan side, which have been unsuccessful. Granted, I was on the Guatemalan side back in late January, so I was at this border earlier this year and saw both sides. Nonetheless, we're here on the Mexican side, and we have been here for the past 5 or so days. You can see what looks like might be a family arriving right around here. Should be interesting to see. Hi Vanessa, and hello to everyone tuning in. Should be interested to see if Mexican immigration officials pop up right now that there's this raft arriving, crossing from Guatemala to Mexico. Throughout the week, we have seen a very large National Guard presence, Mexican National Guard presence here, as well as Mexican immigration officials. Someone saying, I heard that Mexican soldiers shoot any crossers from Guatemala on site. Is that true? I would say no. Back in January, late January, Mexican, as you can see, some people disembarking from a raft. Mexican National Guardsmen broke up a large migrant caravan, mostly of Hondurans and Salvadorians, right here. In fact, doing so in part in the river. The river wasn't as high back then. A lot of rain right now. There wasn't so much back then. Yeah, and they got quite aggressive. Unfortunately, I arrived just a few days after that happened. Is Reg? Reg isn't in the chat, is he? If Reg is in the chat, then a big shout out to Reg and his protest coverage. But yeah, I think we're getting some questions, and I'll be addressing the questions to the best of my ability, Annabelle as well, during this broadcast. Yes. In general, I'd say it's pretty safe. I'm not gonna say it's super safe here. Back in January, I was threatened here, over on the Guatemalan side. I was threatened by smugglers, and that's pretty much documented in a video I published back then. Nonetheless, as more rafts come and go, throughout this week, Annabelle and I have seen Mexican immigration officials. Someone's asking, have I been hassled by anyone during this trip? Annabelle and I were stopped and questioned, and they asked for our passports once. Those were, I believe, Mexican army soldiers who were doing that. There are Mexican armies, I believe they're Mexican army soldiers stationed here, and we can try to show you some of their positions. And then yesterday, right around this tree canopy, or under or within that tree canopy, I was stopped on my own by Mexican immigration officials and questioned and gave them my passport, and after not too long they let me go. But that shows you how seriously the Mexican side is taking the issue, because here in southern Mexico, and for that matter in Guatemala or Central America, I blatantly stand out. Here they refer to me as a güero. It's not too far away from gringo, but from what I understand, a more positive connotation to it. But I stand out as the white guy here, and you I would say stand out as the white lady.
I'm very sad that we are not allowed to cross this river here to Guatemala. That's really upsetting. But usually here more immigration officers and federal guards, and I'm wondering where they are right now.
I believe they're still here, but we'll try to show you them during the broadcast. They haven't loved it when we film. Sometimes they allow it, sometimes they don't. But I've already published footage on my channel earlier this week of Mexican National Guardsmen arriving in full riot gear. Someone's asking, what's more scary, here or BLM/Antifa riot? You want to chime in first on that?
Well, I would say BLM riots are more scary than here. Here's not as much mask enforcement either. Most of the people are not wearing masks, what's really relieving for me.
Actually, I completely forgot. I've got my mask in my back pocket for when I've encounters with some authorities here. But yeah, I wasn't focused on the masks. Regarding the question, the danger, there is danger here. I was threatened. My fixer was also threatened over on the Guatemalan side back in January, a ways down the river, as we were filming smugglers leading a group that may have been Haitians, I'm not positive, but leading a group of migrants across the river. So I was threatened there, and here at times we have to deal with Mexican authorities questioning us, but I wouldn't say there's a direct threat posed to us in terms of something that's really dangerous. So, I mean, depending on the scale of the riots, I would tend to think that a riot in the US nowadays would be more dangerous than being here, but it's not entirely safe being here. I don't know about a mask mandate here in the supermarkets, the large grocery stores. They wear masks.
Only in the chain, so I try to avoid going there.
Most people around town are not wearing masks, but I don't want the focus of this broadcast to be masks. As we were saying, throughout the week, we've seen a lot of enforcement. Maybe enforcement's not the right word, or maybe it is. Mexican immigration officials stopping people crossing the river on rafts. Granted, most people don't get stopped. It's the ones, I believe, who don't seem to be locals, or often I see families getting stopped. And then likewise, I was saying, I was even detained, and what I was telling you a moment ago is that I come across as the white guy here, yet even I'm getting detained. So the Mexican side is taking the situation seriously, and if you haven't seen the footage already, on my channel I've got footage of Mexican National Guardsmen in full riot gear. By full riot gear, I mean helmets, shoulder protectors, chest protectors, back protectors, legs, etc., leg gear, and riot shields. And
they're carrying huge guns.
Yeah, a lot of large guns around here, carried both by Mexican National Guardsmen and I believe by Mexican Army soldiers. And often the immigration officials are flanked by soldiers or guardsmen as they're conducting stops and checks of people coming off rafts and entering Mexico. As I turn the camera around and now try to zoom in, this bridge that goes across the Suchiate River is the official border crossing here. As Agent Orange says, the migrants risk life and limb to make a better life in America. I guess America isn't that evil and racist as Kamala and company says it is. Agent Orange is a contributor to the broadcast. Just like to thank you for your past contribution, Agent Orange. So that bridge is the formal border crossing. I have crossed, I did cross that back in January or February. I think it was January, late January. And we wanted to cross it.
It was super difficult. First we had to run to the doctors, and the doctor gave us like a health certificate, and they sent us to the laboratory. They told us they don't have COVID tests in this town, so they want to send us on our way to another town. And apparently they only had blood tests over there, and yeah, so we didn't get it. And also we went twice or 3 times to the immigration office, and yeah, so we were not allowed to pass without COVID tests.
Oops, didn't mean to do that. Yeah, so we spoke with Mexican immigration officials over at the border facility, and we were told, no, we're not allowed to cross by raft, which that didn't shock me. Actually, what I was told is that all these raft crossings are illegal. That's what the Mexican immigration official over at the border office told me. However, I'm not positive of that. There might be some agreement that allows the locals in this border area to cross back and forth between Mexico and Guatemala. I heard rumblings about that last time I was here. I also heard rumblings about there being some short-term permission you could get to cross back and forth. But regardless, right now, Guatemala requires a COVID test in order to get in. Mexico does not. And that needs to be a COVID test that's been taken within 72 or 96 hours of entering the country. I forget which one it is. So we inquired about that, and the process was very complicated. We tried, as Annabelle was saying, we went to this doctor in town to get a referral to go to a test. We went to a laboratory. They were only doing antibody blood tests there. I believe we need the swab test. Regardless, it's complicated to get over into Guatemala right now unless we just risk it and take the boat, but I'm not going to do that.
I don't want to be thrown into jail here. I heard the circumstances in jails are horrible here, and I just don't want to risk it.
Yeah, actually, last time I was here, my fixer, who's Guatemalan, ended up getting tossed in jail here on the Mexican side as he was trying to cross. It was very simple for me to cross from the Guatemalan side to the Mexican side back in January. I did it the legal route that way. For him, it was not so simple, and he actually got tossed in jail, and we did a live stream talking about that back in late January. Let's take a little walk as you get a look at the river and now the river front. So there's not as much National Guard activity right here in the central crossing point as there has been earlier in the week, but there's still guardsmen stationed up and down the river. Likewise, immigration officials and I believe Mexican army soldiers. As we head in this direction, which I believe is east, we should, by the way, thank you Magic Monkey for tuning in. Thank you to all the regulars and any newcomers if we have. In this direction, we should stumble upon some guardsmen. They set up somewhat of a makeshift mini National Guard post, or for that matter, the National Guard, the immigration officials, and soldiers have been using a lot of these shelters and I guess tents that are set up along the Suchiate riverfront. Yep, here are some guardsmen. See, there you can see some National Guardsmen.
When we go too close, they probably ask us to stop filming.
Yeah, we have been asked previously to stop filming, but so the guardsmen are in the white uniforms, the Mexican National Guard, which, by the way, the Mexican National Guard was created by AMLO, the Mexican president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. Here are the guardsmen. Just recently, so the Mexican National Guard was formed very recently by AMLO, I think just in 2019, and the National Guard came down here in January and gave quite the ass whooping, I would say, to a large caravan of Honduran and Salvadorian, primarily Honduran and Salvadorians. There are also, I think, some Guatemalans, and as I documented, that caravan ended up leading to people from elsewhere in the world, not just Central America, coming a long ways. But yeah, so the Mexican National Guard confronted the migrants in the caravan in and around the river here back in late January. The river was not as deep and was not moving as quickly back then. I saw a lot of people crossing by foot back then. But yeah, so the National Guard confronted them here and basically broke up the caravan. Some migrants managed to slip through the cracks and make it into Mexico, as by the way happened about 6 days ago. I'll get into what happened here over the past week, but it was a larger caravan back in January, and the Mexican National Guard used force to break it up. The migrants, I think, first tried to cross on the bridge, and then a large group of them came through the river and were stopped by the Mexican National Guard, which used force, and there's video of that you can find online. I arrived in town on the Guatemalan side about 3 days after the National Guard broke up the caravan back in January. And then what happened last weekend was a large... I have been asked for my papers. I've already addressed that. Last weekend, there was a caravan of Honduran migrants. They broke through they burst through the Honduran-Guatemalan border, got by Honduran border guards. No one's asked me for money. I mean, I wasn't asked to bribe the immigration officials. Anyway, so the Honduran migrants got through the Guatemalan border on, was it Friday, I think it was? About a week ago, maybe even 8 days ago, and started making their way up through Guatemala. In the past, Guatemala had effectively just let the migrants go right through. But this time, no. Citing COVID, the Guatemalan president said that he would break up the caravan, detain the migrants, and send them back to Honduras. And that effectively happened. But this river is called the Suchiate River. So the Guatemalan authorities basically broke up this caravan a week ago. But the caravan splintered into smaller groups. Some headed for Mexico via an eastern route in Guatemala, and some via a western route, with this being the end of the western route up north through Guatemala. Some of them managed to slip through the cracks, and some of them actually crossed into Mexican territory, at least according to the reports that I've read, and it sounded like Mexican authorities rounded up some people on this side, the Mexican side of the border. However, I arrived about a day after that happened, maybe a day or two after that happened. I arrived on Sunday. Someone saying you on holiday, the Migrant Caravan was a setup. I'm not on a planned holiday. This is basically what I do with my life. I travel to geopolitical hotspots, and now Annabelle does too.
It's exciting. It's nice to get out of the US for once.
So I haven't, and I don't know what Suchiate means. We've headed down the river a ways that way, as I did last time. Last time I was here, when I headed down the river a long ways, I stumbled upon this large group of them being smuggled across the river and into Mexico. And that video is on my channel from back in late January. Magic Monkey says way safer than Portland. Quite possibly. So this week during our treks that way down the river, we have not noticed any migrants, at least not as far as we're aware. I'll flip the camera around. Saw some groups of people gather on the other side of the river, but my best guess is they were local. Here's a glimpse at raft traffic back and forth across the Suchiate with the official border crossing bridge in the background. So as far as I'm aware, I have not seen any migrants, unfortunately, on this trip. I do know that there is what's referred to as the Casa del Migrante, the migrant house. There's a migrant house, this Guatemalan facility, located on the other side of the river, a little ways behind these trees. I was there back in January, and I conducted a bunch of interviews up there, some of which are on my channel, two of which I actually just posted this week on my channel. When they say camera, they're actually referring, they're asking us to cross on the raft. They're not referring to our cameras. I don't know if you guys could hear that in the background saying camera.
I would love to cross, but as I said, I'm not allowed, unfortunately. But I would love to. Look, it's not far away.
But I do know that last weekend when the caravan made its way here, migrants showed up at the Casa del Migrante over there across the river where I was back in January. I wanted to get over to the other side and interview migrants at the migrant house, but as I was explaining, as Annabelle was explaining, unfortunately, COVID is getting in our way, as well as just the general complications of this border crossing for people like us in the COVID era. It wasn't that way back in January and February, at least not early February. What have you seen this week that stands out to you?
People are eating a lot of tacos and not wearing masks.
Interesting
They
commentary.
drink a lot of beer. The beer is really good here.
What about what you've seen of the National Guard, the immigration officials? All right, hopefully we're back. Brief connection issue. I think we're back now. We should be. As I was saying at the beginning, I'm live streaming using a Guatemalan phone network here on the Mexican side, but so far so good for the most part. All right, Annabelle, what were you saying? Come back over this way.
Okay, so every other day we were out here at the river. There were tons of immigration officers. They were having white shirts and white pants on. They were stopping every raft who crossed here, and they asked them for their
Well, no, not
paperwork.
every raft.
Most rafts.
Most rafts do not get stopped, but there are some that do. And I see a pattern of them often stopping rafts that have what looks like a family on it, people with backpacks. I don't have an exact formula, but there seems to be somewhat of a pattern.
But there were like about 30 all along the river, and the white clothes, that are the immigration people who checked their paperwork. And I don't see any today. And also here in this area where we are standing, if you want to turn the camera, there were usually the soldiers and the guardsmen. And they are gone today.
They're still here, and we showed a little while ago, we showed people some guardsmen, but they're not here in as large in numbers as we had seen throughout the week until today, or maybe even yesterday. But let's take a walk this way. I'm sure we're gonna find some Mexican immigration officials because they're here. Although maybe we should take a walk. Maybe we should continue the direction we were going a little bit first. And by the way, we do have a lot of footage of guardsmen, as well as I think some soldiers. The soldiers not in riot gear, but they're well equipped nonetheless. Guardsmen in riot gear, and we have footage likewise of Mexican immigration officials conducting checks, looking at IDs, maybe passports, regardless, looking at documents of people right after they disembark on the Mexican side. So we have more footage which we'll release on my channel. And by the way, someone's asking about your channel. You'll probably be releasing some of this as well.
Yes, so my channel is Romika Annabelle, Romika Annabell.
Is this truck coming our way or the other way?
Yeah, so this morning I noticed 2 trucks full of soldiers who drove through that little town where we are in.
The town on the Mexican side is called Ciudad Hidalgo, and often it's referred to as Ciudad Hidalgo Chapas. We're in the state of Chapas, and the rain's picking up. On the Guatemalan side, the town across the river is called Tecunuman. It's also sometimes referred to as Ayutla. I think the municipality is called Ayutla. But the town across from us is Tecunuman. The town we're right beside and that we're staying in is called Ciudad Hidalgo. See, we're walking right by the river. And I do know in the past migrants have crossed here, possibly as recently as this week, although I don't know if there are any that actually managed to get across this week. It sounds like some made it across last weekend. I don't see any guardsmen right now. Weren't there some guardsmen right here?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, I don't know, every 100 meters before were guardsmen stationed here.
Yeah, I think they set up a mini post right in this area, which I don't see now. We'll walk forward a little bit, then turn around. There were, in the day or two after we arrived, there was a lot of National Guard movement.
Were they in this little hut?
Yeah, so there's a hut. I don't remember if they're in this hut, but National Guard troops were taking over a bunch of huts and little structures like this one up and down the river, and they were moving around in trucks and in riot gear, which again we have footage of, but I don't think we're gonna be able to live stream that, something like that today, because it looks like there just aren't as many guardsmen out now as there were earlier in the week. But yeah, we've walked down this direction a ways along the Suchiate River, and you can find a bunch of little huts and areas like this where there were a bunch of National Guardsmen in riot gear, or at least there were a bunch of National Guardsmen in riot gear. I believe my weak Spanish, I think, tells me that this says it's prohibited to sleep here or to live here. Prohibido cazar aquí. I think that's what it says. Yeah, I think it says you're not allowed to sleep here or camp here or something like that. But yeah, someone's asking about the Suchiate. What was a meaning? I don't remember what Suchiate means, but that's the name of the river. This is the International Suchiate River, and talks about stuff that's prohibited. A Spanish speaker on the broadcast can translate that.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're heading back in the other direction, where we should stumble upon eventually some guardsmen and probably soldiers, possibly immigration officials. Buenas tardes.
And we can go up there where the stairs are, where they ask us for our passports.
Yeah, up there still are soldiers, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have done this stream a few days ago. Maybe not. They were not too keen on us filming. There was one guardsman, looked like he had some rank, came up to us. Oh, he was kind of friendly, but he said we're not allowed to film.
And questioned us what we are doing here.
Yeah, but not in an aggressive manner.
No, they were nice.
And at that moment, there was a lot of National Guard troop movement. They were taking their positions. They were assembling shields and riot gears. So I took that to mean they didn't want us filming then. Not that I'm not allowed to film, period, here. The rain is picking up a bit. We do have a lot of footage though of the guardsmen. A little of which I've already published. The guardsmen showing up in full-on riot gear. I've already published a short video of that on this channel. People keep asking about the safety. I got into that earlier, but I'll repeat it. I'm not gonna say it's super safe here.
I don't know. I was alone outside in the middle of the night and I felt safe.
I'm not gonna say it's super safe here because I've been threatened by smugglers in the past, and actually I was propositioned by smugglers another time. So I know there are a lot of smugglers operating in the area. So I'm not gonna say it's super safe, but at the same time,
and there's a lot of trash.
And they actually burn trash here. Something that I think I've seen not many places other than Africa. As a taxi drives by. Although, at least on the weekends and sometimes during the week, there's a pretty festive mood here. But yeah, walking around town in Ciudad Hidalgo, and back when I was on the other side in January, someone cracked a joke about propositions. It felt safe in town for the most part. I got certain warnings from certain people, but in town on both sides, pretty much felt safe. Just when you get out in the woods or in dense greenery, a little ways down the river on either side, seems like some of those areas are smuggler territory, and we saw some people walking around this week with something like a mini machete.
Oh, in the middle of the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, it could be used for crops, but it could be used for other purposes as well.
I think he was just having it to harvest his bananas. I didn't feel threatened by that guy.
Okay, so we just walked right by National Guardsmen, but I already showed.
So you can just take a picture of me and then zoom into them again.
So we showed you these guardsmen earlier. There they are. In this little sheltered area by the river, in their white uniforms. Over the past week, there have been many more of them here. They've been arriving, they've been coming and going in federale trucks, Mexican federal police trucks.
Two of those trucks drove by us today. What's that for? He has a gun.
Which guy?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh yeah, I think this one's a soldier.
Yeah.
So here, can you do that thing again?
Yes.
So here, to the side of Annabelle, now behind this red cart, he might have seen us. I believe this is a soldier. I'm not positive, but I believe...
He has a sign on his arm, but I'm not sure what's written on it.
I believe he's a Mexican army soldier. There are a lot of people in those uniforms walking around here. All right. And often those men in fatigues who I believe are Mexican army soldiers. I'm not positive, but I believe they are. Anyway, they're often stationed near the Mexican immigration officials along the river, and they tend to stand and watch. Oh, there's another one. So there's another guy, I believe, Mexican army soldier, just on the riverfront, looking over at Guatemala.
Awesome.
I'm gonna bring you back on camera as we walk through here.
Yeah, so the issue is, I think, when you cross the river without a visa or without a COVID test, I think they would just stop you. I don't think they would throw us in jail, but...
Well, no, I think that's a bit of a mischaracterization, because the enforcement of the river crossing from what I've seen is happening on the Mexican side.
He's looking at us.
We're walking by a soldier. The enforcement is happening on the Mexican side, not the Guatemalan side. Granted, I heard reports that Guatemalan authorities came for the migrants who are in town over there in Tucunaman. I'm not positive about that. But the rafts that are getting stopped. No, it's all right. Are getting stopped here on the Mexican side, not on the Guatemalan side. But you need a COVID test as a foreigner to get into Guatemala, not to get into Mexico.
But you can't get a COVID test in this town.
It's complicated. I don't know exactly. You can see off in the distance, not too far away, the proper border crossing, the bridge, people going back and forth on rafts. And the vast majority of these people on rafts do not get stopped.
So in the immigration house, they told us it's illegal what they are doing. Now the soldiers.
Yeah, I was discussing that a bit earlier. When we were over at the proper border crossing on the Mexican side, we were advised that it's illegal to cross back and forth on the rafts the way these people are doing. However, I heard previously that there might be some agreement that allows people in the border area to cross back and forth. I need to look into that. I'm not sure of that, but I do remember back in late January when I was here that there were school children crossing from the Mexican side over to the Guatemalan side early in the morning to go to school. And there are constantly people going back and forth between Mexico and Guatemala, taking basic supplies. And I documented that last time I was here. Corona, I guess that's a very basic supply around here. People still drink Corona beer. Corona soda, bathroom supplies like toilet paper, paper towels. I've seen all kinds of stuff like that going back and forth across the river. And rain or shine, that's always happening. And likewise, Migrant Caravan or not, that's always happening. Now up, I don't think we can show you from this angle, but in this direction, behind these trees, I think we're gonna go from the other angle. There's been a place where I believe army soldiers have been stationed, and let's try to show you that from the other angle. That's the area we're talking about, is where Annabelle and I were stopped together, and they asked for our documents.
Well, I didn't have to show my passport, only you had to show your passport.
Well, I had your passport on me.
And then he said it's okay, he doesn't want to see it. Oh, here's that soldier.
So, there's a look at a soldier standing guard,
and drinking beer.
looking over toward Guatemala. Despite the rain, it's still a pretty festive atmosphere. It's Friday evening here now. It's usually more festive here on weekends than weekdays from what I've seen. Someone says get some food. We've been getting plenty of.
Oh my god, we are eating tacos and tamales basically every day, and they're amazingly good here. They want to drive us around.
Okay, connection issue. We might be getting too far away from the. All right, I don't know if I've got a connection issue. Might have to go back to the river. Can you guys see? Is there a picture?
Wait.
Can you see? Can you hear us?
No.
I'm not asking you. I'm asking who's tuned in right now. Is everyone still there? Is there a picture? All right, I'm getting a yes. All right, thank you. All right, yeah, on my end it's showing connection problem, but I guess we're all right. So we're gonna do this. Oh yeah, I forgot. We ran into some NGO workers around here. Forgot to bring that. I believe they're with an NGO. I'm not positive. That's something I wanted to look into. Haven't seen them since Monday, or was it Sunday? I forget. But yeah, here's a look at some buildings with murals along the waterfront. Let's test my Spanish. Con la inclusión y protección de las personas migrantes. I don't know what ganamos means, but it's saying something about the inclusion and personal protection of all migrants. I think it's saying something about that. Anyway, we're walking upon this makeshift army post. I believe it's Mexican army soldiers. You can see a Mexican flag, and I think they're going to be soldiers.
No, they're gone.
Are they all gone?
No.
Oh, okay. Johnny's saying ganamos, we won. I don't.
So there's one.
All right, let's do this nonchalantly. We're gonna walk down to the river, but here's a little view of some soldiers stationed here. So, so they're the soldiers stationed here, and we're gonna flip it around. Just a little post here. There had been more.
Maybe we zoom out.
No. Yes. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Magic Monkey. We did a connection issue. Now that we're back along the river, hopefully it'll be better. Thank you for translating, whoever that was. Okay, amigo. Yeah, we're back. Sorry about that brief interruption.
There might be a big storm tonight.
No, gracias.
Yeah, we want to pass, but we're not allowed.
We're constantly getting offered raft rides across. Yeah, my Spanish needs to improve significantly, as you guys can see. Andrew Ryan saying, I'm sure the majority of the caravan has already crossed into Mexico. Actually, the majority of the caravan was detained in Guatemala and sent back to Honduras. Reports suggested that some migrants made it across this river, and Mexican authorities were trying to round them up.
The other days, those soldiers in the trucks were driving back and forth along the river, all the way until there. And we walked there, and you can't, there's no path anymore to one point, so there's only jungle, and we saw some people sitting in the river for a long time, but we were not sure if those were migrants or not.
It's just standard here. We've looped back around to where we were a few minutes ago. We keep getting the question. I don't view it as unsafe here in general, but there's smugglers operating in the area. I've been threatened here before. I've said that already. And
when you compare it to Portland, it's very calm here.
I would say so. Granted, it wasn't that way when the Migrant Caravan was broken up right here back in January, but in general, I would say it's very calm here compared to what's been going on in Portland in recent months. Not exactly. It says they get stopped and then they come back, right? I think you're referring to the migrants. So many migrants have I'm a status, I'll address that in a minute. Many migrants have attempted multiple trips up to Mexico or the US, or have crossed into the US multiple times. There's the most recent video I released on my channel was an interview with a migrant over on the other side outside the Casa del Migrante. I conducted a bunch of interviews over on the other side back in late January. And this man had been deported from the US, and he talked about that in the interview, which you can watch on the channel. Just went up a day or two ago. I also interviewed other people there who had been deported.
I met two people who used to live in the US, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very common for migrants to attempt multiple times to come up. But at the moment, it's pretty calm here, and I don't know how many migrants remain in and around the migrant shelter across the river in Tucumán, Guatemala. Last time I was over at the migrant house in Tucunuman, there were, I'd say, a few dozen or so migrants arriving every day, and that was likewise in the aftermath of a caravan getting broken up. About LA, I personally have been targeted in LA, so
Me too, they call me Nazi wife.
it's become extremely unsafe for both of us to do reporting on the ground in Los Angeles. That's not to say that it is that way for everyone trying to do reporting on the ground in Los Angeles, but likewise, we're far from the only ones who've been harassed, and there have been others who've been threatened as well. So
Other live streamers really badly. They told them if they would ever come back to West Hollywood, they might get stabbed in the back.
So the media climate, and for a variety of reasons, I mean, others face, both in LA and nationwide, face some pressure from law enforcement, particularly the activist journalists who are there to really only... All right, we're back. Sorry, brief connection issue. Someone's saying something about West Hollywood.
Yeah.
Or I guess he's just saying that doesn't make any sense. So there have been threats against live streamers in West Hollywood. Yes.
Yes, really badly. So one day I was out alone, and then this one guy, this basketball player, wanted to instigate a mob after me, and well, it was pretty dangerous, I would say.
All right, I'm gonna flip the camera around. Someone's saying they call you Nazi wife. That's not very nice. Germans have been guilt tripped over Hitler. I don't know if you want to chime in about that.
Yeah,
You're the German here.
Yeah, you know what I can say. I didn't know that in other countries they don't have to go through the World War II Hitler guilt over and over every year, every class for, I don't know, several grades. In 7th grade, they indoctrinated and
Let's go to the central crossing area here, see if the connection improves a bit.
it's maybe the weather.
Oh, I don't think it's the weather. All week I've been on... My phone picks up the Guatemalan phone network rather than the Mexican. I mean, regardless, it's not the strongest connection either way, but yeah, I'm picking up the phone network from across the river in a different country, but it's hanging in there for the most part.
There's somewhere a soldier to the right. Oh, there.
We're walking by a soldier again, but we've already filmed him. I'm not gonna antagonize, although maybe I'll turn around briefly. Festive atmosphere, even though not so many people, and there's rain, which puts kind of a damper on it. Here's another soldier, just standing and looking over across the river. Well, regarding the wall, the wall is the northern Mexican border. We're at the southern Mexican border. I wasn't in Tijuana at the conclusion of my Mexico trip in February. In late February, I was in Tijuana, and I did a live stream along the border there in Tijuana. You can check that out. There is a wall there already. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm wondering where all the immigration people are, because every other day, I would say around 30, and asking some people for their paperwork, mostly families.
Yeah, so I don't see any of those immigration officials out right now. I'm a little surprised by that, but I'm sure they haven't left the area entirely. But nonetheless, we have footage of Mexican immigration officials conducting checks, and I aim to release that by tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get that up tomorrow on the channel. Upload speeds around here aren't the greatest, but hopefully I'll get that out very shortly to you. Yeah, we've got, as I've been saying, we've got footage of immigration officials conducting checks. We've got footage of Mexican National Guardsmen going around here. Likewise, I guess some soldiers. And the whole shebang here. They've been treating the situation very seriously. Just doesn't exactly appear that way right now on this live stream. Comments and questions. What kind of comments and questions do you have in addition to what we've already gone over? Magic Monkey says, looks very peaceful.
So I asked this one guy who used to live in Los Angeles, and one of his sons, he is in Los Angeles right now, and I asked him if they know what's going on with Black Lives Matter, and I showed him some videos, and they didn't know. They were absolutely surprised.
Someone's bringing up Golden Dawn, which I find kind of interesting. I haven't really been keeping tab on what all's been happening, but I saw there's stuff going on with the Golden Dawn case and protests in Greece. But I've actually done a lot of coverage of Europe's migrant crisis on the Greek-Macedonian border. That's now the Greek-North Macedonian border, outside the town of Idomeni, Greece. I've probably done more migrant crisis coverage from there than any other individual spot in the world, or at least I probably put out more footage from there than elsewhere. Nonetheless, that was a very interesting place to be a few years back. Well, it's been a while. It's been 5+ years. I haven't made it to the Moria camp. I didn't make it. That's something I'm frustrated with. I would have liked to have gone to Lesbos or another Greek island. I mean, granted, I still could, but yeah, I've done a lot of migrant crisis coverage in Europe, much more so than in the Americas, although I was down on the Venezuelan-Colombian border this year. That was late last year, the end of last year, and earlier this year I was down, made my way up through Central America. So, Rich is saying, I liked your Venezuelan stuff. I don't think I'm done with all the Venezuelan stuff. There's a lot of footage from that border and the border area that I did not release. Maybe I'll go back there sometime soon. Maybe not, we'll see. But yeah, I've still got more footage from there I haven't released. But over the past year, I've been doing more migrant crisis.
Yes, I do have a channel.
I've been doing more migrant crisis coverage in the Americas. Your channel is?
My channel is Romika Annabelle. ROMIKA-ANNABELL. No E in the end from Annabelle. So it's Romika Annabelle.
You just got a new subscriber.
Thank you. I'm going to publish more stuff what I recorded here during the day and during the night.
If that's too hard to spell, you can just head over to my About page. Well, actually, Magic Monkey just spelled in the chat.
Thank you, Magic Monkey.
If it's too hard to spell, you can go to my About page, and it's one of my linked channels.
Oh, so what I noticed here, a lot of street dogs, but most of them look pretty happy. They just hang around with the people, and in front of the hotel, they have long tubes, and there's dog food inside what the dogs can grab. I would say the dogs in Greece, they are not as healthy and don't look so happy.
Greece? Why Greece?
I don't know, because I've spent a lot of time in Greece.
There are a lot of places I'd like to go in Mexico. Some of which I've been, most of which I haven't. Most I've not been to. See, we're getting some comments. Thank you, Nance. Thank you, Roy. All right, someone's asking. They're setting Europe up for a second refugee wave. What do you think is going to happen to all the bankrupted business premises and hotels?
Well, I heard today that in
All right,
Germany,
let's go European first.
in Germany, the COVID restrictions are getting worse and worse. Apparently, you are forced to wear a mask, also in very small villages. Kids have to wear masks when they play together on a playground, and it's getting worse day by day. And a lot of bankruptcies, small businesses, hotels are filing for bankruptcy. And now the Germans are planning to file a class action suit against the government and the manufacturers who sold those or who invented those COVID tests, which are mostly false positive, and also against the institutions who sell those COVID tests. So they plan on a huge class action lawsuit.
I have not stepped foot in Europe at all this year. This is the first time since 2013 that I have not been in Europe. So
you're not allowed to enter.
Well, I'm not allowed in the EU for the most part. There are limited exceptions to that. But there are several countries in Europe that I can enter. I was gonna say, so I haven't been there on the ground scoping it out this year. I haven't been there at all since COVID took effect, or the COVID restrictions took effect. Hey there in British Columbia. Likewise, I haven't been there covering the migrant crisis this year. I was very eager to return there. When was that? When there was a flare-up on the Turkish-Greek border? That was less than a year ago. I forget exactly when. I was very eager. Maybe it was in February or March. I was very eager to return for that, but I didn't. I was, I think, in the U.S., Mexico or the U.S. at that time. You're welcome for the reporting. Regard to the framing of the question, you said, is Europe being set up for a second wave? I don't know if by that you're referring to the fall of 2015 being the first wave. Because there was a huge wave in the fall of 2015 when more than 1 million people made their way across the Balkans, mostly headed for Germany, secondarily Sweden, and spread out all around Central, Western, and Northern Europe. But since then, migrants have continued to come to Europe, but just not in as large of numbers. So yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of waves of migration, but if you're referring to the fall of 2015 as the first one, then that was the largest one in recent years. And I was smack in the middle of it, and you can find tons of videos on my channel, including lots of interviews with migrants, lots of footage from various borders, including the Greek-Macedonian border, as I mentioned before. I've seen the migrants headed for Europe, and I've run into them in Turkey, various spots across Turkey, including Istanbul. Thank you, Black and White. Seen them in Greece, seen them in Bulgaria, seen them all over the Balkans, and all over Europe for that matter. And I've actually stayed with some people who have gotten asylum or have been seeking asylum in one particular European country. Maybe I'll do more on that in the future. Have I seen them in Paris? Yes, I've seen many migrants in Paris, although Paris has had so much immigration that I might ask you to specify if you mean, have I seen migrants who are recent arrivals or immigrants who've been there a while or whatnot. I see there's a lot of interest in the European migrant crisis, which that excites me because that was a focal point of my channel, if not the focal point of my channel for multiple years. So I'm glad to see there are people in the audience who are still interested in that. And well, you're European, so you could probably do some reporting on that as well. However, contrary to what's been put out by some people, you have not been in Europe over the past couple years.
3 years. Last time I was there 3 years ago, and what my Ukrainian friends told me who immigrated to Germany is that
Keep talking.
is that you are not allowed to say something negative about that. Also, when, especially in Hamburg, they were raping girls and it was not really safe to go out alone anymore. Usually, Hamburg was a super safe place, but now girls are being harassed and targeted and surrounded. So it's just not the same anymore, and it's just a culture clash.
Well, that's been a critique of many people. Let's see, comments. What I should mention, it should be straightforward and self-explanatory, but I guess at times it's not. I put out lots of interviews with migrants. And the point of the interviews with the migrants is to let them have their say and to let you guys decide. Effectively, let you guys be the judge as to whether or not they should get asylum, whether or not they should get a visa, whether or not they should come to the US or whichever country to get a work permit and get a job, etc. I'm not trying to make a case in any direction. I believe there's a lot of value in putting people on camera, showing who they are, listening to what they have to say, and you can judge their credibility and the merits of their asylum case or visa case or whatnot. Which, again, I think it should be self-explanatory, but it's not always.
Maybe it would be a great idea not to bomb the country and have to leave their homes and everything what they had and lose their houses and everything.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because what's going on with migrants coming from over there is not a result of the US bombing people. So, and you can watch the interviews I've done with migrants that I've already posted, and likewise you can read my Calcos News article, which it's in some of the video descriptions. But the migrants coming from the migrants coming from Central America and Honduras and El Salvador in recent years have been the most prevalent countries of origin. The migrants coming from there are, generally speaking, fleeing poverty, crime, they often gangs, and general dysfunction in their countries. They're not fleeing war. And there isn't even really a pretense of that. But you can hear it from the horse's mouth in the interviews that I've conducted with them and posted on my channel, and probably more to come. But frequently I hear about, from my discussions with migrants that I've had across the river over in Tucunuman, Guatemala, and someone's saying fighting age is also working age. During the last caravan, it seemed like most of the migrants were young. It seemed like most of them were under 40, maybe even predominantly under 30. More men than women, but there were some women coming along, at least from what I saw over in Tucunuman a few days after the caravan got broken up. But yeah, a lot of people are simply seeking a better life. Now, a lot of them have some very sad stories about what happened to family members being killed, or living in abject poverty. They can't feed a child or stuff like that. A lot of them have very sad stories. but at the same time, most of them are fleeing poverty and what they describe as crime and gang-ridden countries, as opposed to fleeing war, which often, but is not always the case, with migrants coming from certain Middle Eastern destinations to Europe.
Well, in Europe, most of the migrants fleeing some type of war.
I wouldn't jump to the conclusion most. It's not so easy, and I've hashed this out a lot in past videos and past articles, past interviews that I've done. It's very tricky. The whole asylum process in Europe is tricky. Trying to figure out whether people are actually coming from war zones, or they're just coming from war-torn countries, or they're just coming from countries where there's a lot of violence and now and then there is some warfare. It's not always so black and white that they're fleeing a war or not fleeing a war. And likewise, as someone writes economic migrants, many of the people coming from these so-called war-torn countries, some of which are war-torn, will often tell you, as they've told me repeatedly, that they are seeking a job or better job, often education, often government housing, or government-funded housing, government-funded education, all kinds of stuff. I hear that from them all the time. So there very much is an economic angle to the mass migration to Europe, regardless of whether people are fleeing war or not. And just once again, I wasn't expecting to get into the European migrant crisis, but we are doing a migrant crisis stream here, and I'm enthused to hear that you guys are interested in the European migrant crisis. And you're a European who's a bit opinionated on the matter.
Okay, yeah, well, the people I grew up with, they flew the war.
Oh, you want to bring them up? Like, are you referring to people who
I went to school with?
Who fled Yugoslavia during the
Yes.
breakup of Yugoslavia? All right, you explain that.
Yeah, well, they were horrified. I mean, but this is a long time ago. This
So we're talking
20 years ago.
The 1990s, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, in the 1990s, there was a large migration from Yugoslavia to several countries in the heart of Europe, Austria, Germany, Sweden, etc. Someone's asking, what do you think of Viktor Orban? Do you know who Orban is? Right, Orban's the Prime Minister of Hungary.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
He's basically the leader of the anti-migrant faction of the European Union. What else? Someone's saying, I'd love to hear your story. I don't know. Are you referring to Annabelle's story? I don't know what. By the way, I've done migrant crisis coverage both in Hungary and on the Serbian-Hungarian border, which if you go back a few years on my channel, you can find. I've also done some coverage of Orban and Soros, of all things. That might interest some of you. Or, I don't know. Briefly, what's some background about you? Just some brief background.
Why
yes.
I immigrated to the US?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. I didn't like it in Germany. It's very cold and the people are wearing dark gray and the sky is gray all the time. It's raining all the time. And I used to be an interior designer over there, and then I moved to LA and became an actress. Oh, I'm from Hamburg.
Which, for people who don't know, where is that located
It's
in
in
Germany?
the north. It's, I would say, 1.5 hours driving distance to Denmark.
Oops. Oh, all right. I'll flip it back around. Again, there's the proper border crossing. Most people who cross throughout the day don't use the proper border crossing. They cross by raft.
There are some
Like,
rafts.
oh, more raft traffic on this end. Yeah, most people who go back and forth across throughout the day are doing it this way. We've been told we're not allowed to, and we've been given the impression that we could even end up in jail if we were to try that. Even though those rafts look awfully enticing, and we constantly get offered rides. Okay, let's take a handful more comments and questions. Could you hold the phone for a second?
Yes.
Wonka. From a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank the dank background music on this live stream? Why don't you guys do that? Why don't you guys put 1 being worst, 10 being best? How good or bad the, as Wonka calls it, the dank background music is on this live stream.
I like the music, and the people are very happy here, I would say. I think they don't have a lot of money, but they're very happy. And friendly.
Based on my 2 visits to this area this year, I would tend to agree with what you're saying. Huevo. 10, 8.9, 12.5. Yeah, you're gonna dance salsa while you watch the rest of this broadcast? All right. But yeah, there's always, it's pretty cool. I guess I haven't ever shown you guys the vibe on the Guatemalan side, which is quite similar to this side. So over on the Guatemalan side, you've got these stairs in this central area that I'm pointing the camera at, where a lot of people get on and off rafts and load stuff onto rafts. But then underneath these trees over there on the Guatemalan side, there's something very similar to what you see here, with a bunch of tents and little booths and huts being set up, vendors selling food, often music. It's more festive on the weekend from what I recall.
A Corona is 20 pesos. That's about $1, right?
That's just under $1.
A little bit less than $1.
Or is that?
Oh,
is that,
I prefer Mexican Coke over American Coke. So much better.
That's slightly more than $1. Or do I have it backwards? Whatever. Someone asking. No, we didn't bring Rage Brew with us. Haven't heard from Rage Brew in a while.
Yes, Corona. I said Corona.
What do I think of Yemen? I've never been to Yemen, which comes as no surprise. From all I read and see, it's a horrifying situation. I know someone who visited Yemen recently. Do we have a lighting issue?
I don't know.
Although he went to Socotra, which is this island that's way off the coast and was only briefly on the mainland. Generally, I don't like to give a whole lot of inputs on some major geopolitical clash or war that I haven't been in close proximity to. But, I mean, there's an obvious proxy war going on there, and the victims appear to be the citizens.
Maybe we show the other side in the background.
What? Oh, this side? All right. Yeah, the proxy being the Saudis versus the Iranians.
I'm still wondered where all the immigration officers are.
I guess we're coming out here a little late in the day. But also, maybe it's a sign that things have calmed down to the point where they're sending some people back to wherever they came from before deploying to the border and riverfront. Are the bugs bad?
No,
Not compared to some places in the world I've been. There are some bugs, but definitely
but not as bad.
not nearly as bad as some places. Africa.
Oh, I was bitten worse in LA this year than here. I'm wondered about that. It's very humid here. The weather is beautiful.
Actually, there was a really bad, for LA standards, really bad mosquito problem in LA this summer. I don't know why. Marcus, you're just gonna have to wait for that someday.
It's the Mexican army here.
From my understanding, yes, we've shown you soldiers. I believe they are Mexican army soldiers.
They're driving in trucks through the town.
Those are mostly National Guardsmen who are driving. So there have been a lot more National Guardsmen here than soldiers. But the Guardsmen are in the white uniforms. We've showed you both on this broadcast, though. There aren't nearly as many out here as there have been earlier in the week.
There's one.
But yeah, there's soldiers in camo and they're Guardsmen in these white uniforms with black on them. I think black stripes.
But the other day, like every 100 or 200 meters, underneath those little huts here, there were like 10 soldiers in riot gear.
No, the soldiers weren't in riot gear. The National Guardsmen were in riot gear. But the soldiers, I mean, they're soldiers. They're carrying large guns. Like they're plenty geared up.
Yeah, this big.
Wonka asks if you had to, and I'm not crazy about the lighting right now. If you had to, would you like to live in Mexico in any area? Wonka, earlier this year, in a private Facebook group, Travel and International Living, that I created, I posted that if I were to divide my year up into 4 different locations for home bases, at this point in my life, I would choose to spend 1/4 of the year, or maybe it was 2 months of the year, in either Mexico City or Bogota, Colombia. And
this is the first time for me in Mexico.
Bienvenidos a Mexico.
And I like it when they call me señorita.
I'm just used to being called güero. But yeah, actually, I like Mexico a lot. I spent a month in Mexico earlier this year. I'm not in love with Mexico City, but it's such a location, big city with so much going on. You can get in and out of there so easily, fly all over the place. And for a lot of reasons, I think it would make a very great home base. But there are
many other beautiful places on this planet.
There are other areas of Mexico I like as well. Yeah, it's possible to create a community in the jungle, but at least at this point in my life, I don't want to. Someone's saying Mexico City or LA. Well,
I'm done with LA.
for the purposes of just strictly where I would prefer to be, I would prefer to be in Mexico City. However, I have family in Los Angeles. I'm from Los Angeles. Sometimes I have needs to attend to in Los Angeles, so that's a practical matter. But where I'd flat out prefer to be, I'd prefer to be in Mexico City. Way more bang for the buck. And even though I'm not much of a Spanish speaker, I could get better probably pretty quickly. And I think I like it more. I have not, unfortunately, been to any of the Mayan ruins. In my trip up through Central America earlier this year, I didn't have a whole lot of time for tourism. Joseph, I can't control my family. I think at least some of them would like to leave LA, but I kind of doubt it's actually going to happen. But I left LA. I left LA a while back, and for the majority of the past 6 years, I've been living not just out of LA, but out of the country. So it's been a little odd being in LA so much this year. That's interesting. I've only been to Idaho once. I took a summer Boy Scout trip there years ago. Randy's asking how violent is Colombia? Well, not nearly as violent as it was a few decades ago. And in general, I'd say it's a quite safe place for a tourist to be, or even an expat to be. Very popular expat destination. I mean, there's still problems that exist in Colombia, but no puedo pasar a Guatemala. Quiero, pero no puedo pasar. Anyway, as always, we're welcome to go take a raft across the river, but no puedo pasar. Yo solo puedo pasar a la puente, pero también no tengo permiso. Anyway, I want to join them, but I'm not going to risk it.
Me too.
Someone's saying I actually love to live in the Guad. Guad, you mean Guatemala, I guess? I know of some travelers and expats who've either moved to Guatemala or spent a fair amount of time there. The majority of my time spent in Guatemala, which isn't much, but the majority has been spent right across the river in Tucunuman. So even though I've bust, adios amigos, adios, buena suerte, hasta luego. Actually, I'll just show them. Yeah, so I've bussed across the country, south to north, but I've spent a few hours in Guatemala City, but I haven't really seen Guatemala. My phone thinks I'm in Guatemala right now.
Look, I told you, the people are very friendly here.
They are, and you draw a distinction between here and LA. I think you talk about in some vlog you're working on. You're saying people are more friendly.
Oh
here
yeah,
than
they
LA.
are so much more friendly than the LA folks.
How so?
They, in the morning, they say good morning, and in the afternoon they say good evening, and they always have a smile in their face, so they don't have a lot of money, I think, and they just seem warm and not so in the rush all the time, and yeah.
The rush thing for sure. This is not hustle and bustle capital of the world, that's for sure. Let's see what else we've got. Marcus says we're both warmly welcome to Sweden, even if it's getting colder. Believe it or not, Marcus, I've never been to Sweden.
I've been to Sweden, and it's really, really nice in Sweden, but really expensive, I think.
I'm in no rush to come to Sweden in the cold months, that's for sure, but someday I need to take a trip to Sweden. Someone's saying something about riots in LA, I think.
It's really cozy when it's cold in Sweden.
Do you feel LA rioters in Portland are paid to riot? They're asking, do I feel? I don't. Oh, you've got a time lapse going? All right. I don't feel that, nor do I have evidence of that. I would say the rioting is much more prevalent in Portland than LA, although back on May 30th, there was massive rioting in LA. And for that matter, for about 2 days following, large riots as well. See, we're coming up on the... Actually, we've already passed the 90-minute mark. Maybe I'll wrap this up around 100 minutes. So get in your final comments and questions. We'll talk for another 5-8 minutes or so and then wrap it up, unless something crazy happens as we're talking. Didn't they attack your car in LA? A car I was in? No, it was not my car. It was the car of a very brave woman who came to rescue Annabelle and I when we were surrounded in South LA. And yes, the protesters attacked the car, and video footage of that is not on my channel. It should be at some point, but it's definitely on Twitter. I've tweeted out video footage of it, and there might be video footage of it on Annabelle's channel. At some point, I'll have footage of that on my channel, but if you search hard enough on Twitter, you can find it. My Twitter feed is @FreemanReporter. Or Joseph Virgo's saying it's on Twitch. And you know what? Yeah, the streamer Moises, yeah, the real Moises recorded that. But we also filmed from inside the car. We got a question.
The real Moises is real.
All right, Moises B, he ended up getting harassed in West Hollywood. I was tweeting about that as well. Lots and lots of harassment of live streamers in and around Los Angeles. But yeah, you can find video footage of the attack on the car, but we filmed that from the inside. And is there footage of that on your channel, the car attack, or is that not up yet?
But I'm working on another video where I'm combining the footage from other live streamers with our footage, so you guys can get an overall picture of what. Is this still working?
We should be.
Oh, now we are back. Yeah,
All
so
right.
that's the internet connection here on the border from Mexico to Guatemala. It's not the best internet connection here, and we are having some trouble uploading our videos. Sometimes it takes the entire night for just a little clip, so I think I'm going to wait until I'm back in LA and edit a lot of stuff here and then.
Oh, Castello's tuned in. Hey there, Castello. Thank you for tuning in. Castello's a contributor to the channel, and he likes to talk about vaping. He's on the pro-vaping side of the vaping debate. Thank you, Joseph, and you've helped us out as well. Thank you very much, Joseph. Final comments and questions before we wrap this up. Not only is the connection starting to go, but the sun is going down. There hasn't been so much sun during this broadcast, but sun's going down
until I can
here.
go back and drink a Corona.
I'll skip the Corona. You're welcome for the stream and the conversation. What kind of meat is good to eat down there? Carne asada, carne al pastor.
I had some shrimps, they were good. But mostly they fry a lot of stuff here.
All right, final comments and questions. Have a tequila shot for us. Maybe we'll do that. It's been a long week. Could probably use one. Tequila's not too pricey here. You can get a whole lot of tequila for not so much here in the state of
Ciudad Hidalgo.
Chapas and the town of Ciudad Hidalgo. To recap, we're not going to be staying here too much longer. To recap, during this stream, we didn't have a whole lot of shots of National Guardsmen and soldiers, no immigration officials. Nonetheless, we have footage of that, and a little of it's already been uploaded to my channel. More will be uploaded to my channel. Some more will be uploaded to your channel, I believe.
And it's beautiful here during the night. Look.
At night, National Guardsmen actually do stand guard right here. Maybe soldiers as well. I've seen them from both sides of the river at night. Yeah, so more footage from here coming to this channel. Likewise, I plan to release some more interview footage from across the river that was shot back in late January, right after a previous migrant caravan, a much larger migrant caravan, was broken up right here in the river.
And it seems like the people are here because most of the people are not wearing masks, and the only place where you're basically forced to wear a mask and you're not allowed to cover yourself with a scarf or a sweater, what I want to do, are the chain supermarkets. So I try to avoid them and just buy from little stores or get some street food.
I've seen you wearing a mask at multiple points on this trip. Out of necessity. I mean, good luck going into the...
I can't breathe with those masks.
Good luck going into the border office and just saying, screw you, I'm not going to follow your rules, I'm not going to wear a mask.
Yeah, I want to cross the river, but they didn't let us cross the river without a COVID test. And this town doesn't have COVID tests.
It's not that the Mexican side won't let us cross, it's that a COVID test within the past 72 or 96 hours, something like that, is required to get into Guatemala. And as we described before, it's complicated down here. So is travel in the year 2020. But
yes.
Nonetheless, we're doing it. Okay, final comments or questions. I know I've said that before, but let's just take a look at the chat again. Does the river have a virus?
I don't think so. People are swimming in the river and they just come out and don't fall off dead.
Jorge Rodriguez says we kept our cool when we were getting harassed during a stream a few weeks ago. Thank you, Jorge. That was admirable on your part for sure. Ceviche. Did you have some ceviche?
Oh no, but I should.
There is
try
ceviche
some.
around.
Yes.
You had some fish dish though. Mm-hmm. Had ceviche elsewhere in Latin America. Health passport coming our way. I hope not, but quite possibly.
We went to a doctor to try to get this COVID test, and we got a health certificate from her, and she said that we are healthy human beings, but she didn't have a COVID test. And then they sent us to the laboratory, and they didn't have a COVID test either, and then we went back to the immigration office, and they told us no COVID test, no crossing the river to Guatemala. It's illegal.
All right, let's wrap this up. It's been fun being out and about, live and on the ground around the world, or at least today coming to you from the Mexican-Guatemalan border, but that's my preference for coverage, live and on the ground around the world. And I expect to be doing more of that in the future, quite possibly the near future, but this is going to be a wrap from the Mexican side of both the Suchiate River and the Mexican-Guatemalan border, with Guatemala in the background of your picture. Again, I did coverage from here earlier this year in late January or early February. Likewise, I'm still rolling out more coverage from here from this week as well as from back then. You can find that on my channel. The name of the town we're in or right beside right now is called Ciudad Hidalgo. Ciudad Hidalgo, Chapas. The name of the state is Chapas. The name of the town is Ciudad Hidalgo. Across the river, it's Tucunuman, Guatemala.
And this is Mexico.
And we're in Mexico. Right behind us is no man's land, the river, and Guatemala. But thank you very much for everyone who tuned in and who participated in this broadcast. Goodbye, or I should say adios.
Cheers.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
From the Mexican side of the Mexican-Guatemalan border, and hope to see you live and on the ground somewhere around the world sometime soon. Goodbye.